Welcome back to the show. This is Relax Radio, RELAKS without the X because we believe in positivity. And there's five questions for the EPM right now, and these answers are really going to be super important. And in case you guys are wondering what this is, guys got to stay tuned in. But before that, though, here's a little clip of what we are at right here at Relax Radio. So check this out. That's right. You can always feel free to hit us up on those numbers. It is 078-52-473-473. If you guys feeling a little chatty and you want to talk about things, hey, you want to talk about how your day was been, or you want to talk about what is happening right now in the UK, because there's a lot of things happening. Hey, you can always hit us up on those numbers. Also, don't forget, you can download the app on the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store. Carry us all day, every day. And also reminding you that we are on our webpage. You guys can check out our webpage. We got a lot of cool content right there. It is relaxradio.net. But with that being said, though, we are going to be diving into the questions at hand. The five questions for the Prime Minister right now and why these answers matter. So the question number one is, who funded the Downing Street flat refurbishment and when? Yeah, this is going on around right now a lot. And, a lot of people are talking about this. And, Boris Johnson's former chief advisor, Dominic Cummings, has said, allegedly that the Prime Minister once planned for conservative donors to secretly pay for the revamp of the flat where he and his fiancée, Carrie Simmons, were living in. So, yeah, the defense secretary has responded by saying Mr. Johnson personally footed the bill. That's right. And he said it's not clear, whether any of the work, reportedly costing of up to £200,000 was initially paid by another source and whom the Prime Minister then repaid. But it was reported that the conservative Lord Brownlow said that he was making a donation to the party, which included £58,000 to cover the payments already made. Yeah, that's right. A lot of this is one of the big questions right now. Who made these payments? And there's been a lot, Boris Johnson has been receiving a lot of negative feedback, a lot of criticism, backlash from a lot of people. And people want to know where this money came from, how he built this, and why did he do this? This is just some of the questions that people are asking right now. And Boris Johnson did not give a proper response to this. And he said most of this is just total up and utter rubbish. And this is not really true. And there's been a lot of this, widespread talk about this. And they asked, whether if he ever discussed using these donations to pay for refurbishments. Mr. Johnson said, if there's anything to be said about that, any declaration to be made, that will, of course, be made in due course. I mean, hopefully, he's going to be saying that on live television someday. And the reason, though, why it matters, because if Lord Brownlow or any other donor contributed to the fund or made a loan, this should have been reported to the Electoral Commission, the body which ensures transparency in political funding. I mean, end of the day, you got to realize politicians are doing a job as well. And there needs to be a lot of, transparency. Where is this money coming from? How are you even doing this? What are the means for you to even be doing something like this? Who are the donors? That is all the kind of questions, that's a lot of questions for just that one question, who funded this whole Downing Street renovation, the flat renovation? So this is just the questions that they are asking us. And they're asking, these are the questions that Boris Johnson should be ready to answer, because this is just a very important question right now that is going around the UK. And the other one, though, is who leaked the details of England's autumn lockdown? Yeah, there was also a lot of talk regarding that. A lot of people are talking about that. And the details of the second lockdown were released before the government announced it back in October 31st. So yeah, Dominic Cummings has denied responsibility for those leaks. And he also claimed that the Prime Minister had considered stopping an inquiry into who was responsible for the leak after it was found out that all the evidence pointed to Henry Newman, who was a cabinet office advisor at the time and now works in Downing Street. So yeah, Mr. Johnson allegedly again said Mr. Newman and Kerry Simmons were best friends, and he would have to fire Mr. Newman if the inquiry concluded that he was to blame and that this could cause problems in his family life. Oh, so this is what they are saying, and this is what allegedly Boris Johnson said. And the government said that the PM had never interfered in a government leak inquiry, and Cabinet Secretary Simon Case warned it was probable it would not successfully identify the person responsible given the time that's elapsed right now. So why this question really, why you got to realize, why does this really even matter? Well, the inquiry still has not reported its finding, and it's almost been 6 months. That's right, 6 months since that leak, since that second leak, the initial leak right there. And if Boris Johnson wanted to stop it because he might have conclude his fiance, his friend was the leaker, this would have contravened the ministerial code laying out rules of behavior. So yeah, that's just some of the reasons why this is also very, very important, why this question needs to be answered. Boris Johnson has a lot of answering to do. And what are the full details on the PM's text message exchange with Sir James Dyson? That is another question that is sparking a lot of controversy right now, because a lot of people also want to know what is going on. What is this whole detail about? What are you talking about? And why you need to be more. The setting had to be more open and transparent. Why there was a whole setback, and there's a big row going on about this, about how ministers are not being transparent enough. So last week, messages sent between Mr. Johnson and the businessman came to light, and they revealed, that early in the pandemic, the Prime Minister had promised to fix a tax issue so that Sir James' Singapore-based staff could work for longer in the UK in order to help build more ventilators. This is all for the sick people. So Mr. Johnson promised to publish the full exchange on Friday, but while some details of the correspondence was released, this does not happen. This did not happen. And why this really matters right now is that the Prime Minister said there would be transparency over the text, and is therefore under pressure to give more information. I mean, when you really come to look at it, the Prime Minister, he had to do a lot of these questions, and it just goes to show, what he's doing is he's not answering the questions that the public is asking right now. The government is asking the people, especially number one, the people want to know how this came to be and how are you even doing this? Why is there not enough transparency? It just goes to show there's not enough transparency when it comes to the government. I mean, that's just crazy stuff right there, and it's disappointing as well with what is going on right now. This is a time we need more transparency between the people and the government, officials. So how far was Downing Street aware of the European Super League plan? Yeah, that is another interesting question as well to all those football fans and all the other kind of, all the people who are, football fans. The plans for a football competition in which 6 of the UK's clubs were guaranteed to place whatever their Premier League performance were announced last week. So Mr. Johnson was amongst its heaviest critics, calling it a cartel. That's right. He was saying, but it was later revealed that Manchester United chief executive Edward Woodward, whose club was one of those behind the European League, Super League, had met the Prime Minister's chief of staff in Downing Street 5 days prior. So yeah, what is going on with this? And there's also reports that the plans had been discussed in the meeting, but Downing Street denied that, saying it had specifically been about the safe reopening of stadiums and what forms of COVID registration needed to be in place. So this is just another form, what they want to adopt the whole COVID virus, the passport, the COVID passport. This is where they wanted to adopt and implement it, especially when it came to the ESL, because when you think about it, there's going to be a lot of people there. There's going to be susceptibility to people transmitting the virus. So that's just one of the reasons. So Labour right now, the Labour is pushing for fuller details of what happened in the meeting. So why this matters is that the government welcomed the end of the ESL, from which the English clubs have withdrawn. But were some in Downing Street aware of the club's plan in advance? That is what we want to know. Were other people known, in on this? That's the kind of questions they're asking. Were other people in on this, and why was there not enough transparency? It just goes to show, end of the day, it's always about the transparency, the government with the people. And the other question, the final one, is: did the Saudi prince text the PM about the Newcastle United takeover. So yeah, it's been reported that Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman contacted Mr. Johnson to say, relationships between his country and the UK would be damaged if he did not try to correct the Premier League's decision not to allow a 300 million pound takeover of Newcastle United. So he claimed that the Prime Minister asked an aide, Lord Udney Lister, to look into the matter, but the government has denied any kind of involvement. And they've been saying, that there's not been any kind of involvement when it comes to this takeover and a position backed by, the Newcastle United. So why this question really matters right now is that Prime Minister and the Premier League essentially had been scrutinizing the takeover attempt over concerns that the consortium behind the bid was not properly independent from the Saudi government. So Prince Mohammed is also accused of having approved the murder of Washington Post journalist Jamal Khashoggi at the Saudi consulate in Istanbul, Turkey back in 2018. In case you guys are wondering what that is all about, that was just a crazy scene. And there was a big scenario where this journalist, he was a US-based journalist, he died in 2nd of October 2018 because of an issue where he was murdered, because they're saying it was allegedly by the Saudi Arabian prince. So yeah, this just goes to show, these are the kind of questions that the government should be answering, and they should be more transparent with the people, especially when it comes to the people. I mean, when you look at it, end of the day, we are the people who've put them in power. And at the same time, the people have to realize that we have the right to know what is going on. Like, especially when it comes to, these kind of funds that is coming out, these kind of leaks. How is this even happening? There are leaks coming out. And are you like protecting people inside your own government, from doing all of these? It's a very complex situation right now. And especially when it comes to these full details, when it comes to text messages, WhatsApp, people are just WhatsApping casually these kind of things when they're actually should be reporting it back to a secretary, and then full on transparency. That's what we're talking about here. There got to be more transparency when it comes to the government and to the people. So yeah, that's just some stuff right there. So make sure, anyways, we're gonna be taking a real quick break, and we'll be right back after this. And taking a look at your time right now, though, it is 4:15.